No one likes their grandmother sitting on death row, right? Yet for some folks, this is their heart-wrenching reality. Today, around 52 inmates on death row across the United States are females. But guess what? Not all of these women are in their prime. We have some who are well into their golden years. In this video, we'll know the 5 oldest women currently on death row in the United States and their stories. Stick to the end because the age of the oldest woman on this list might surprise you. Number 5, Lisa Carpenter Graham, 56 years old. Lisa Carpenter Graham found herself on death row at Tutwiler on February 26, 2016. The crime? Hiring someone to murder her own flesh and blood. Lisa, at 40, believed her 20-year-old daughter, Stephanie Shea Graham, was the cause of all her life's problems. "I'd take her life myself if I could get away with it," admitted Lisa, as stated in legal reports. Just before Shea's tragic demise, Lisa, in desperation, offered a neighbor $5 grand to kill Shea. Court records reveal these venomous words from Lisa: "I want her gone." On the fated day of July 5, 2007, Walton lured Shea to a place in Russell County under the pretense of gifting her a car. The journey ended with Shea being shot multiple times. In the aftermath, Lisa returned the gun from Walton and went to her father, Warren Thompson, to get it cleaned. Under interrogation, Walton admitted his crime and asked Lisa for legal aid and bail money. This conversation, recorded by Lisa's husband, Kevin, was handed over to the authorities.
Just that you love him, right?
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No, ma'am.
But you felt what he said was beautiful.
Yes.
He doesn't want to lose you.
No, he don't. He's already lost his sister.
Lisa was then brought into the sheriff's office for questioning. During a conversation with her husband, she admitted to her previous statements about killing Shea. Still, she brushed them off as mere jokes. Decades passed, and on June 14, 2012, Walton took responsibility for his crimes and was put behind bars for life. Lisa's trial was set for the subsequent fall. However, the judge's health halted the trial. As the prosecutors prepared for the second trial, Lisa's defense argued that another trial would be tantamount to double jeopardy. This suggestion was eventually rejected by the Alabama Court of Appeals and the Alabama Supreme Court. Finally, on March 5, 2014, Lisa was found guilty. Citing her medical conditions, including post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and prescribed medications for schizophrenia, her sentencing was postponed. After expert testimonies that included discussions of her low IQ and recurring severe depression, Lisa was eventually sentenced to death row. Number 4, the Angel of Death. Who said that angels are always good? Meet the Angel of Death, also known as Janine Jones. Born in 1950, this former pediatric nurse has been on death row since 1985. She was convicted and sentenced to 99 years in prison for her role in a string of infant murders. Janine Jones is believed to have caused the deaths of at least 11 babies under her care while working as a nurse in San Antonio, Texas, during the late 1970s and early 1980s. Dubbed the Angel of Death, she would inject her young patients with fatal doses of drugs, resulting in their deaths. She would then revive them in an attempt to appear as a hero. Jones was finally caught after authorities discovered that there were unusually high numbers of infant deaths while she was on duty. She was initially charged with the murder of one baby, Chelsea McClellan. Still, she later faced multiple charges for other murders as well. In 1984, she fled to Kentucky and started working in another pediatric clinic, where she was again suspected of administering overdoses of medication to patients. She was eventually apprehended and extradited back to Texas for trial. In her trial, Jones pleaded not guilty because of insanity, but was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to prison. Her sentence was later extended after additional evidence surfaced linking her to other deaths. Jones is now 70 years old and has spent over 35 years on death row. Number 3, the Motherly Murderer. This case may seem like something taken straight out of a horror movie, but unfortunately, it's real. Meet Dorothea Montalvo Puente, the death house landlady. Born in California in 1929, she was convicted of murdering her elderly tenants for financial gain. Puente ran a boarding house for the elderly in Sacramento during the 1980s. She would befriend them, provide them with food and shelter, and ultimately murder them for their Social Security benefits and pensions. Her victims ranged from 60 to 80 years of age, and she would often drug them before burying their bodies in the backyard. She was finally caught after a tenant's social worker reported her missing. Investigators discovered 7 bodies on her property, but Puente was only charged with 3 murders due to lack of evidence for the other deaths. In 1993, Puente was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. She passed away in 2011 at the age of 82 while still serving her sentence. In the last trial, Puente claimed to have killed 25 people, making her one of the most prolific female serial killers in history. However, there is no evidence to support these claims. Number 2, Tierra Capri Gobble. Let's talk about a tragic and shocking story, the case of Tierra Capri Gobble. Aged 40 now, she has been on death row since January 6, 2006, for an unthinkable act, the murder of her own baby son. It was December 15, 2004, and 4-month-old Phoenix Parrish was immediately rushed to Southeast Alabama Medical Center's ER. The tiny tot was not breathing, and his pulse was nowhere to be found. Despite the best efforts of medical professionals, Phoenix's life could not be saved. The autopsy report later unveiled the horrifying facts. A brutal blow to the head caused a skull fracture. Moreover, he was found to have injuries spread across his face, head, neck, and chest, plus fractured ribs, wrists, and arms. To make matters even worse, a tear inside his mouth indicated force feeding with a bottle. Jonas R. Saun, the ER doctor who attended Phoenix, stated that the baby would have suffered unbearable pain from his numerous injuries. Fast forward a little, and we learn that Tierra gave birth to Phoenix on August 8, 2004, in Plant City, Florida. But here's a twist. Within a day of his birth, Phoenix was taken away from Tierra by the Florida Department of Children and Families, who also had her first child, Jewel, looked after by her paternal uncle. Little Phoenix's heartbreaking death happened under a court order. Tierra was, by then, prohibited from contacting her children. However, Tierra and her boyfriend, Samuel David Hunter, lived with Edgar and Phoenix despite Tierra's intention to give up her parental rights. Imagine just 13 days before the heartbreaking death of Phoenix, legal proceedings began to permanently end Tierra's parental rights. Tori Jordan, an occasional babysitter for Jewel, testified that Gobble once chillingly said, "If she couldn't have her children, no one could." Tierra was swiftly apprehended and interrogated after Phoenix's death, as noted by Officer Tracy McCord from the Houston County Sheriff's Department. During court proceedings, Tierra admitted to being Phoenix's main caretaker. She even accepted that she might have held him too tightly or laid him down too harshly, causing injuries. As a part of her defense, Tierra tagged Hunter as abusive and oppressive. She admitted to noticing bruises on Phoenix but was too frightened to voice her concerns. One pivotal moment came when the state revealed a letter penned by Tierra where she expressed regret and confessed, "It's my fault that my son died, but I didn't mean for it to happen." Tierra was just 21 when this tragedy struck, and her first child, Jewel, was only 18 months old. After considering all the facts and testimonies, the jury found Tierra guilty of capital murder and, by a vote of 10 to 2, suggested her death sentence. The court heeded the recommendation, sending Tierra to death row. Number 1, Black Widow Killer. Time can't erase the happenings of history, as they always leave a mark. One such significant leaf from the history book dates back to October 1990. Let us introduce you to the person at the center of this horrific incident. She was Blanche Kaiser Taylor Moore, 57 years old at the time. On the surface, it seemed like she was as ordinary as they come. But don't you know, still waters run deep? Her life was as normal as it gets. A preacher's daughter, going to church, having a family, and spending her golden years working at Kroger in Burlington. However, life took an unexpected turn when Blanche Taylor, her married name, met Reed, a divorced grocery store manager at Kroger. She had risen to the top of the ladder as the head cashier. However, her co-workers had mixed feelings about her. According to a 1989 Baltimore Sun article, some labeled her as vindictive and two-faced. Blanche and Reed became colleagues in 1962, but didn't become an item until 1979. According to court papers, Reed once mentioned to a fellow Kroger employee that he and Blanche could have tied the knot without her closeness to her family. Blanche's job at Kroger saw her stay put while Kroger shuffled Reed around several times before he finally managed a store in Winston-Salem. After a short work period in Durham, Blanche quit her job at Kroger on October 17, 1985. A couple of months after her retirement, Blanche invited Reed over for New Year's Eve and served him her homemade potato soup. Reed, a man not known for illness, started the new year with severe sickness. His admirable career ended abruptly on May 29, 1986. Tragically, he passed away in a hospital in Winston-Salem less than 5 months later. The cause of his death initially puzzled doctors, attributing it to Guillain-Barré syndrome. He was only 50. After being found guilty of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder, the court sentenced Blanche to death in 1991. She is now 90 years old and has been on death row for almost 30 years. Society is made up of individuals, and it is our collective responsibility to acknowledge the struggles of those who are often forgotten or overlooked. These women have lived long lives and experienced various traumas before ending up on death row. What do you think? Were these death row sentences justified to such elderly women? Or do you believe that every person on death row has a story that deserves to be heard? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.